He's editor-in-chief of Breitbart News and a New York Times best-selling author. And on this podcast, he brings deep research, prescient analysis, and world-class guests. He's Alex Marlow, and this is the Alex Marlow Show.
Now, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Alex Marlow Show. It's not Hawaiian Shirt Friday edition, but I did wear a tropical color. I've got a brand new yellow, almost like a parakeet yellow. Very tropical, very festive. I've got an interesting vibe coming in the show today because the news is all World War III. And we in LA and around the country are bracing for who knows what's going to happen tomorrow. But it's also starting to feel like a summer Friday. It was my kid's last day of school today. So we're getting the show in the can a little bit later. But that's all right. This will be the last fresh weekday show for you, I'm sure, in any of your feeds on the news. So I get a lot of perspective here. I get extra perspective than everyone who rushed to their microphones last night to try to podcast for you, which I think that's a nice thing if you're a podcaster to do that. But I will start with the serious stuff, which is what's going on in Iran right now and also in Israel. A massive strike by Israel in Iran yesterday. And it was one of these things where a lot of the text chains I'm on, and they're very powerful people, not all of them a lot of them are just, friends and family, but I've got some text chains with powerful people who are very relevant and whose opinions matter in this country. And even in these chains, there's a lot of panic going into yesterday, suggesting that this could be a very bad thing that happens if Israel attacks Iran or Iran. And forgive me, I'm going to confuse Iran and Iran. I don't know which one. I will say both during this episode, and I don't care. So please educate me. Always feel free. Aloha at alexmarlow.com. If I make any mistakes, I will correct myself on the show and go to any chastisement quarters that we've developed for such instances. But there's one thing for me that as a America First guy and as someone who does not want us to get into wars and was largely rejected the Republican establishment of yesteryear because of their willingness to get us into wars that benefited the bottom line of the companies that they're a part of, i.e. the military industrial complex. A big part of who I am, what defines me, what defines where I differ from the traditional Republicans and conservatives that I grew up reading. But I will say being a total pacifist and to take off the table that you're able to use targeted strategic military strikes against the bad guys, that was never for me. And I never took it to that extreme. So it always gives me a lot of interest when it feels like something militarily is going to take place and where we fit in the America First movement in that. And I'm going to get to that in a second. But first, I want to get to the details of what we know. This was a strike. It was apparently on 5 different fronts, in 300 missions. So there was at least 300 different the angles of attack by Israel in sort of 5 different groupings. Israeli jets were apparently even refueling over Syria, which is brand new. I think you can credit President Trump for this. They did a lot of the normalization of Syria there and the deposition of the regime there, as well as the Abraham Accords. I think a lot of that was possible. And it seemed very strategic and very effective. The target was military targets. As far as we can tell, nuclear sites were damaged but are still online. So I don't think it completely decimated Iran's nuclear capabilities. Senior members of the regime were killed, including the head of the Air Force. Almost every major general in Iran seemed to be killed, and there were key nuclear scientists that were killed as well. All this happened largely undetected. All the targets were military, no civilian targets from what we can tell so far. And I think this is one of it shows you that this was really sophisticated. And Israel's military capabilities are pound for pound the best in the world and pretty good overall relative to any other nation, regardless of, the poundage size. And it seemed like they really came in and hit some strategic targets pretty effectively and efficiently overnight. And it's important to know why. So Iran, of course, harbors the idea that they want to wipe Israel off the map, and then after Israel, move on to the United States. But they also fund all of the worst terrorist actors in the world: Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, the Iraqi militias. They have terror cells all over the world trying to kill Americans, trying to kill Jews, and trying to kill Israelis. And that list is only going to continue. And if they've somehow killed us all, then they would. So, what they want to do, the central premise of what they're trying to do right now is they're trying to develop nuclear capabilities. So the question is, Is it our business to stop them? Well, my take is that why do they want the nuclear capabilities? Is it for weaponry? Is it for energy? Well, they don't really need it for energy. They have lots of fossil fuels in the ground. They have lots of ability to be able to get natural resources that are there available to them, use that, sell that. So it's not just a money-making thing. That's not enough. And so obviously, if it's not just about making money, is that they want to kill people with it. They want to use the nuclear capabilities to attack people. Now, when you have nuclear energy is useful for certain sciences, certain medicines, certain technologies. So I'm not saying that there is nothing to it that they wouldn't use the nuclear power for something beyond trying to execute their bad guys. But overall, that is the main point. That's what they want to do. And I try to say this in a calm way, but I feel like this point is missed, that why on earth do the Iranians want nuclear capabilities? They want it so that they can nuke Israel and they could eventually nuke the United States. And given the way the world works right now, given the way ballistic missiles work right now, it is a small globe. The globe is very small. You can hit targets quite easily. And this is something that is, I think we underestimate it a little bit. I think a lot of the people in the pacifist wing of America and in the conservative movement feel like it's halfway around the world. They're not a particularly strong country. They have a lot of weaknesses, some of which I'll explore at the top of the show today. But it's not just that. It's maybe they're a paper tiger, as Joel Pollack has told me, but you can punch well above your weight if you have nuclear capabilities. And that's why we cannot let them have that. And even Trump knows that. I don't think Trump wants wars to break out. Recall, Trump started no new wars in his first administration. And I think that if anything, he's trying to wind down wars. I think the Abraham Accords is a doctrine of peace. I think that he's the only one on earth who could potentially broker a peace between Ukraine and Russia. If there's going to be one, it's going to be because of Trump. I think he's a peacemaker around the world, but he understands that there's no good that's going to come from Iranians continue to pursue nuclear capabilities. We learn from the UN, which has been a problem in this region. Just this week, we reported this at Breitbart. I brought up on the show, at least one other show, that Iran is now in violation of a IAEA, International Atomic Energy Administration. Is that what it is? But it's the UN's, nuclear arm, saying that they're in violation of some rules. So clearly they're trying to escalate. They don't care. They're not living in sufficient fear of what could happen to them if they continue to pursue this. And that's why Israel's made the decision that they're going to attack. So it is clearly, given the success rate that we've seen, and we're less than 24 hours in as I'm recording this, and things will develop, and I imagine this will be a couple of weeks going on, but it is very strategic. It gives you the impression that this was a long time coming, and there's probably no stopping Israel from doing it. Now, the United States was not involved directly, so to speak, but it certainly raises questions whether or not Israel would have ever done this without the United States' blessings. Marco Rubio put out a tweet suggesting that Israel operated unilaterally, but again, ordered the deal, 4D chess. That seems like the right thing to tweet, so I'm not taking that literally. It seems like when it comes to warfare, it seems like that's the right approach to send that message out to the world, so I don't know if it's true. But if they're going in, strategically hitting nuclear sites, and there's even more nuance. So it's clear that Mossad infiltrated to create drone bases within Iran, which is incredibly sophisticated. And in a vacuum, I'm not saying I know where this is going to end up, but just in a vacuum, that's quite impressive. Militarily speaking, that type of strategy, that type of execution, you've got to doff your cap to it because they know where the bad guys are and they figured out a way to infiltrate. And that's a process of years, not even months. That's years in the making to do something like that. And I imagine we're going to find that Israel's infiltration of Iran goes very high up. Now, Iran is a weak country in some ways. They are very vulnerable to sanctions. They have a deeply unpopular regime that's in power now. The people do not like Iran, which is really interesting to see where this goes in the future, because will the people who, generally speaking, from everything I can tell, I haven't been there, don't have firsthand accounts, but everything I'm able to read and my many sources around the world tell me that the people really hate the regime there. And there's this sort of eternal dread that takes place in the country. And they don't they're not, it's not a proud, thriving people. And it's not a regime that's very stable. It's gotten a lot less stable in the last few hours as a lot of their top leaders have been bombed to smithereens. So they also now have no air defense as far as we can tell. So it is just concession layup, just open goals for Israel right now, just dropping pretty much unchecked bomb after bomb right now. And that's going to continue because why not continue to escalate since they're already in on that? It's just going to continue. They're committed. It's going on. They're having deep levels of success. The Iranians immediately retaliated with 100 drone attacks aimed at Israel, but almost all of them were intercepted by America, the UK, Jordanians, and Israel itself. And then right before we started recording today, another 150 missiles were fired. Dozens reached Israel, and a few of them breached Israel's defense shields. Apparently a handful of people were injured, but that's all we've got. We don't have any fatalities yet. We've got a few casualties, but again, very mild, very weak response because a lot of the bad guys have already been taken out. There's very weak imperative as a nation. And Trump laid out in the immediate aftermath of the attack that there was apparently he'd given some sort of a 60-day threshold that Iran had to meet to start complying, start not making sure that they're willing to negotiate peacefully and not continue to enrich. And they would not do that. So on day 61, I guess I don't think he gave Israel his blessing necessarily. He may have, but he might not be saying it. I don't know if he gave Israel his blessing, but he certainly said that I'm not going to stand in your way. Go for it. So this brings me to something that's really compelling because the Trump had indicated he did not want Israel to go in. He had indicated publicly that he's not happy with Netanyahu. And much of Trump's base, the supporters that drive his movement, the America First movement, the energy that takes place online, deeply anti-war and incredibly skeptical of anything that could one day bring America into some sort of harm's way and our troops into some sort of prolonged, protracted Middle East war, which we have no appetite for. We absolutely don't. And I don't on a personal level, because you're hearing, I'm sure if you're reading between the lines of my voice, I'm feeling a lot of positivity about the first day of attacks here. But that said, I don't want any American troops, boots on the ground. But that's just not the nature of warfare right now in this region. It's going to be fought with missiles. It's going to be fought with drones. And it is not something where I'm seeing Americans in harm's way. You know, we could eat those words. If there's sort of some sort of sleeper cell in the United States that got in under Joe Biden or any other open borders regime that's been radicalizing here in the United States, and I'd be shocked if there isn't something, then if there's a attack that's carried out, that would be bad news. If there's a soft target in Israel, I'm not in Israel, in Europe that gets targeted because of this, a possibility, and that is something that will recalibrate some of my initial attitude towards this. And all that is a risk when you're dealing with these bad actors like this. War is not a joke. It is the nastiest, dirtiest stuff on the planet. But overall, Iran continuing to not want to comply, continuing to not want to negotiate at a peaceful level. And then to see immediately Israel goes purely for military targets, purely for nuclear targets, and Iran retaliates by, according to Israeli sources. So I haven't backed it up with any sort of the neutral sources, if there are any neutral sources in this, but they're bombing residential areas right away. So one of these things where the scenario, the way it appears to be coming together early on, is looking positive. But then the question is, where does that fit for us, the America First movement, the people we don't want any new wars? What I'm hoping and what I'm seeing thus far is this is potentially the Soleimani attack times 100. I remember the night that Trump bombed Soleimani, very successful, very strategic, one day, one and done, out. When this happened, a lot of people in my life were panicking, crying, literally crying in the middle of the night. We're going to war. It's going to be another world war. All of our kids are going to die. We're going to waste a bunch of money. All the defense sector that we hate, they're all going to get rich. And I had faith it wasn't going to happen that way, and it didn't. And that was with the last Trump administration. That was with the sort of so-so Trump administration. Now we got the fantastic Trump administration with all the best guys leading the way. And it's starting to look like we're threading the needle very well. Now, here's what's really interesting. I was touching on this, but I'm going back a step. One thing that was an interesting pattern is that early in the day yesterday, that's Thursday the 12th, as a day before I'm recording this, It felt as though there was a deep effort to coordinate from some element of the White House, somewhere in the West Wing, someone coming in and giving the nod, tapping conservative influencers on the shoulder, particularly on X, the Everything app, and saying, you need to make your case that Israel should not bomb Iran tonight. And a lot of these influencers did it. We did a big roundup of this at Breitbart News. And a lot of people going out there and saying Israel should not bomb Iran. This would be a disaster. It's going to divide the conservative movement, which might be true. That might be true. I'm not saying that's false. I'm saying there's a big coordinated effort that came in and like, whoa, all of a sudden, all these people, same talking points, that if Israel does this, MAGA is divided and it'll be irreversible. Okay, so hours later, Israel goes in. Clearly, given the nature of the attack, this was years in the making, if not, weeks or months, but probably years in the making. The attack is very strategic, very successful. It appears in a vacuum. I'm not saying that there aren't additional factors that it complicated some more. It's never black and white in war situations, but looks very successful. And clearly those influencers were not going to stop Israel from doing this. So then why? Why reach out? And it's starting to wonder if it's all 4D chess. If all this was designed to create that attitude in Iran that perhaps Trump won't allow for Israel to attack, because Trump publicly not getting along with Netanyahu. And now Trump's base saying, don't do it, Bibi. You can't go in there. Trump, you cannot let him do it. And then they do it. And then it works. And it seems like the element of surprise was really there. And you start wondering if there's some colossal bait and switch that's going on, some 4D chess is being played. And I'm kind of here for it. It's one of these things where I have terrific sources. I have been blessed in my life. I've got a lot of opportunity to talk to some of the smartest, most strategic minds in American politics and American governance on these topics, and interview them and meet them personally, and meet in the former Department of War in the Eisenhower Executive Office building off the White House multiple times. And I got to say, I'm not purporting to know exactly all the details of what goes on and what strategic moves are made, but I'm pretty good at connecting the dots. And this feels like we were all part of a big plan that was going to increase the element of surprise so that Israel could carry this out on their own without American troops being exposed, without American blood and treasure being blood spilled and treasure spent. And some of the bad guys are a lot weaker today than they were last night. Now, is there something bad that could happen? Are there downstream effects? We don't know yet, and I'm hoping there won't be. But it looks like Israel's got these concession layups. They're going to keep hitting. They're going to keep decimating the Iranian forces. Maybe the Iranians who are remaining see the writing on the wall, that they're completely outmatched militarily, that they have almost no ability to push back. The people are not going to be happy about any of this. And maybe this could be the end of a really horrible regime without America having to engage directly. And if that's the case, that would be a massive victory for President Trump. And it would be, of course, be a big victory for Israel. But I think for world peace in general, it is the ultimate peace through strength. You have to be able to have the element of surprise. I mentioned you guys, I spent a little bit of time over the weekend on vacation playing some cards. And the best strategy typically, if you're a poker player, is tight aggressive. So meaning that there's loose weak, and then there's tight weak, and then there's a loose aggressive, and there's tight aggressive. And I want to spend all day going through all the various permutations. But the ideal strategy is, and not for everyone, other people can make other things work. But for the most part, your average person, they're best not engaging all the time, but when they do, being the aggressor. So you're best off when you're waiting for good spots, you're choosy about your spots you take, and then you play aggressively when you choose them. And that appears to be what's going on here with Israel. And it appears to be what's going on here with Trump. And if that's the case, that's the Soleimani approach. That's we do the mother of all bombs every once in a while. We take out Baghdadi every once in a while with the beautiful dogs. The beautiful dogs, of course, you guys know, we're the ones who really got them. Coming in through the wall, not through the door, going through the wall to get Baghdadi. That's the approach that puts the entire world on notice, and it makes them scared to death. So relentlessly optimistic here at Breitbart Land that this will be the right thing. Of course, as Matt Boyle's been saying in media, that this will be defining for Trump. If this goes south, this will be very bad for Trump. He will lose a lot of his coalition. I think a lot of the new people, younger people who are on board, do not want to see us engage in any wars. I'm just saying that as a fact. I'm not saying I agree. I'm not saying I disagree. I'm saying that's a fact, and that's to be monitored. Keep an eye on that. But overall, you can't help but feel like there was some real strategy in place at the start of this thing. And we are monitoring closely Breitbart News. You get all the details, but I remain optimistic and hold the line on this one per usual. And let's see what happens. The terror chief Salami has been eliminated since I started the show. Nice. Always like taking out Salami because you get the good jokes, get the good, not from, I don't think we'll joke about Salami, but I know I'll go on Instagram later. I'll see some good Salami jokes, I'm sure. All right, more nuclear scientists killed. Cool, good stuff. Let's see it. So, and Trump says Iran's hardline negotiations are now dead. It's all a positive. It really does look like Trump has brilliantly threaded the needle yet again. And I pray to God, literally I pray to God. I don't think those words on the show, but I want to call like I see it. And I want you guys to see me for how I'm viewing these things. Dana Bash from CNN said she spoke to Trump and he had the most unbelievable quotes. I'm going to read them to you. We of course support Israel, obviously, and supported it like nobody has ever supported it. Iran should have listened to me when I said, I gave them, I don't know if you know, but I gave them a 60-day warning and today's day 61, just like I said. They should now come to the table to make a deal before it's too late. It will be too late for them. The people I was dealing with are dead, the hardliners. The people I was dealing with are dead, the hardliners, he said. He wouldn't specify who they were, but he said they were all dead. Then she asked him if this was a result of Israel's attack last night. Then President Trump responded sarcastically, they didn't die of the flu. They didn't die of COVID. Sounds like a really dumb question. I don't know why she printed it, but it's a great line by Trump. He's fantastic, and we're very lucky. We're very blessed. Israelis Defense Force are reporting Iranian regime targeting Israeli civilians. It's both a bad thing, but it's also it's a warning that is a risk. Is that once you're in war, you can't trust the other guys to play by the Marquis of Queensberry's rules, and hopefully there weren't a lot of civilian casualties over this, both Israel or elsewhere. So that's it. We're monitoring it at Breitbart News, and I have tons of footage for you. I got footage. Misty pulled some footage for me, which is kind of her inappropriate, but I'm not going to spend time on it. You guys can go online if you want that, because I'm going to switch gears. There are a lot of cell phone service providers out there, and I saw one the other night claiming they share my values and, quote, stand for something. What exactly do they stand for? They wave the flag, but they're not specific. And that's why I chose Patriot Mobile, because I know exactly what they stand for and they aren't shy about it. Patriot Mobile stands for the lives of the unborn and actively participates in the March for Life. I love the March for Life. I told you guys when I lived near the Lincoln Memorial, absolute highlight of the year is March for Life. They donate millions of dollars to organizations that protect the unborn. They stand for the Second Amendment. They partner with organizations that actively fight for your right to protect yourself and your family. They honor and support our veterans and our first responders. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider who truly shares your values. And Patriot Mobile gives you the freedom to choose the best network for you because they have access to all three major networks, not just one. Right now, you can get a free month of service when you go to patriotmobile.com/Alex, or you can call 972-PATRIOT. Keep your number, keep your phone, or you can upgrade. It's up to you. Talk is cheap. The only cell phone company that actually lives your values is Patriot Mobile. You can go to patriotmobile.com/Alex for your free month of service. That's patriotmobile.com/Alex or call 972-PATRIOT. Great people, great sponsors. Check them out. And we can talk about some other stuff. I will float getting a lot of play on some of my analysis of the Padilla, Alex Padilla, just really theater that we saw yesterday. With him showing up at this thing for Kristi Noem in California when he should have been voting and doing his job in the Senate in DC, and didn't wear his pin, which I broke down on the show. It is fun because this is what I miss. I mentioned this at the time. I miss it about live radio, that I had to give you my real-time analysis. I didn't have time to think about it. I didn't have time to any wind up. And I really liked my analysis overall. And that's part of the magic of the live radio. But overall, I saw I didn't have the pin. That didn't look good. And it looked like he was just crashing this thing to cause problems. And that's how it turned out. Immediately started fundraising, grandstanding, and you get all of the Democrats just going in and trying to get a little bit of attention over this. I've got some clips. I want to play. I really want to play the Chris Murphy one. Can you remind which one that is? I'm going to play the Cory Booker one first. Missy, tell me which one is the Chris Murphy one, so I play that too.
If you can make Alex Padilla forcibly kneel before this executive, when does it stop? He's a United States senator. And if you can force him to kneel to his knees violently, when does it stop? What does it say to other Americans who want to speak up? What does it say to other Americans that want to exercise their constitutional duty? What does it say to other Americans this weekend when they want to peacefully protest? What does it say to other Americans from humble backgrounds who know poverty? That if a United States senator who stands up to do his job can be made to heel, driven to his knees, violently handcuffed, what does it say? What message?
Violently handcuffed. Okay, so Misty, I confess, I'm convinced. Spartacus Booker has convinced me. I think I quit the show. I think I'm going to resign from Breitbart. I think I'm on the left now. I think he's persuaded me. I think this is it. I think this will be the last show I do because of how convincing Spartacus Booker is yelling at me. Do you know what they're actually, you guys of course can tell I'm being facetious here, but you know what immigration and custom enforcement, that's what they're opposing. They're not against ICE, the frozen water. They're against ICE immigration and customs enforcement. They're against enforcing immigration laws. That's what they're saying, that they don't like when immigration laws are enforced. That's what they're objecting to. We're not trying to round up law-abiding people. Trump even said, as I criticized Trump yesterday for this, he's saying he doesn't want to deport people who are here to work mostly and are just economic migrants. He wants to deport the bad guys. I want to deport the economic migrants and the bad guys. But Trump is narrowly focused on the bad guys, on the criminals. That's the type of people they're rounding up. And I'll tell you that they'll find some guys. They'll find someone that is an innocent guy. But remember they tried it last time with Abrego Garcia? And they ended up championing a human smuggler who beats his wife. So it's they've got to give me the example. Just find it. I know the person's out there. I know there's going to be some semi-innocent person gets swept up into this. Semi-innocent. But you're allowed to enforce immigration laws. It's every bit in our right. It's every bit in our right to bring in the National Guard. It is. I hope some people in the show are able to bring this. If either of you, hopefully you're on the left, and if you're not, and you're at a Father's Day thing over the weekend, you're at a barbecue over the weekend, you're allowed to share people that we are allowed to enforce immigration rules. And if the state of California and the city of Los Angeles and the county of Los Angeles, if they do not want to do that, is every bit the president's right to bring in the National Guard to say, we're enforcing them now. There's nothing, this is an obvious one. It's an easy one. But it gives the left something to talk about, and they're going to take it. So fine, here we go.
What message does it send? Everybody in this body should see that this is a crossroads. They treated a member of the United States Senate violently after he identified himself, dragged him out of a room, threw him upon the ground, and put him in handcuffs. Every member of this body should object to that. Why?
Why did he crash the thing with no security clearance? Why wasn't he in Washington doing his job? Of course he was just trying to grandstand. This is another reminder. We don't know who Alex Padilla is. No one in California knows who he is. His own family doesn't know he's a senator. Like, no one knows who this guy is. He got appointed by Gavin Newsom because he was going to be a dependable Democrat vote. And now he wants to be a martyr, just like Gavin Newsom, who's going around like another paper tiger, just screaming at everyone. Really outraged. He should be outraged at himself. Why did he let for California to deteriorate under his watch for the last couple decades? All right, I got more Spark. I mean, you got the picture, but he's so entertaining.
Because the statement was that he was disrespectful. That is unacceptable. That is offensive. That is un-American. When you drive a man to his knees in the United States of America, that is wrong.
I like this. We might have to get this drop.
That is unacceptable. That is offensive.
Here it comes.
That is un-American. When you drive
right
a man to his knees,
I'll do that a couple times.
That is offensive. That is un-American. When you drive a man to his knees in the United States of America. That is wrong, that is wrong, that is wrong. This is a test. This is a crossroads. This is a day in which the character of this body will be defined.
He says that every time, though. Every time he's upset at all, he says this will be a defining moment. Okay, I'm going to speak directly to people in New Jersey in my audience. Are you guys embarrassed by this guy? Like, it's humiliating. The grown man behaves like this at all. Then he represents the most, what's the expression on the Senate? The best deliberative body in the history of mankind. I don't know, whatever it is, but it's supposed to be, it's supposed to be the best of the best in our Senate. And that's what you guys got. That's what you guys are giving us. He's as bad as Alex Padilla out in California. Bad stuff. Fun though. Really fun. All right, I got more. Let's go. Let's see what else we got. We got, I got some Jasmine Crockett somewhere. Which one's the Murphy? Okay, I got the Murphy. I got my Murphy. Let's play my Murphy and then we'll play my Crockett.
Speaking for myself, I don't ask law enforcement to throw my constituents to the ground and violently handcuff them because they have a different opinion from me. You know why I don't do that? Because we don't do that in a democracy. We don't do that against ordinary citizens, and we certainly don't allow the administration and the law enforcement that works for the administration to do that to a United States senator. This kind of violence, simply because the White House doesn't agree with people who dissent. If this is how a United States senator...
He's going to get people killed, and I'll tell you how he's going to get people killed. Is that anyone who watches this and they see that if you resist arrest, when you show up, when you're not supposed to be somewhere and you're getting escorted out by Secret Service or by security or by the police, and you push back, what Padilla does, he violently pushes back against law enforcement. He's resisting law enforcement. This is where things get escalated, and this is where people die. Either they end up continuing to push back. Padilla's a big guy, and they end up getting shot. Maybe they get tased. Maybe someone goes for the taser and they actually take the gun. Maybe they misinterpret you grabbing them, and maybe you go to try to grab the belt for leverage, and they think you're grabbing for the gun. They shoot you. This is all the type of stuff that gets people hurt. You can't normalize this. And a few smart Democrats have been smart enough to say this, which is that what was Padilla doing there? He had no business being there. He had no business being there without a badge or a security clip, security pin. And then he has no business resisting arrest. It's crazy. This is crazy. It's crazy they're excusing it.
Senator can be treated, then none of us ultimately are immune. If this is how a United States senator can be treated, none of our constituents are safe. This is a test for the country, but this is a test for the United States Senate as well.
I got Jasmine rolling on this.
To that, I know that there's been some conversations about what's going on in LA, and they want to say that it's riots because they didn't want people to keep talking about, say, the Epstein files or whatever other drama was popping off between the president and his little friend.
So if you're keeping score at home, Trump sent in ICE to enforce immigrations and customs in Los Angeles because Musk had tweeted that he was in the Epstein files. So the conspiracy that Trump is some sort of a pedophile, Musk gave the left that to talk about. So it's, I think smart people are past it, but just remember that. All of you Elon fangirls out there, that was a bad move. And then she calls Elon his little friend. See, he's the richest man in the world. Look, I'm not a huge Elon fan, as you guys know, but the guy's a giant. You can not like the guy, but he's not a little friend. I mean, the guy's one of the most significant figures in the world and maybe for the century. So I don't know, maybe I don't think it helps your credibility when you're like, oh, he's a little friend. He's a little friend. But her performance art is on point. If you guys are missing the visuals, she's got the glasses with the clear frames, which is terrific look. It's a really good look. And she's got a medallion on. She's got a sharp looking pantsuit. I mean, she's got it. She's got a little thing I like to call it.
So they wanted to change the conversation to immigration because they feel like, well, the polling is in our benefit. But let me tell you something. If they cared about making sure we were going to be fiscally responsible, they would tell the American people that it cost them $134 million to send the National Guard to LA for the quote unquote riots that the governor didn't ask for, nor did the mayor of LA ask for. And they sent them over there, and they say that they care about our service members, yet they sent them and they were laying on the floor. They did not provide for food. So I don't know why we would believe that, number one, they want to fix this. They don't want to fix this, because the brokenness is a feature, not a flaw of the system.
Okay, so there's photos of some guys sleeping on the floor. It's military guys in the audience, veterans, active duty. And email me, aloha@alexmarlow.com. Is that the biggest imposition? It doesn't strike me as, if you enlist and clearly this is a justified use of National Guard, and then you got to take a nap on the floor, like, is that... I really don't like speaking out of turn about our military personnel. I try to give you guys the utmost respect, and we do at Breitbart. But that does not make me think that we should continue to keep the border open because you guys had to take a nap on the floor. Like, it's just, I'm trying to play this as cool as I can, but that sounds ridiculous to me. So you tell me, aloha@alexmarlow.com, my off base.
The system, because it is beneficial to them when it comes to campaigning. If they can't stoke fear, then why are they going to say have anybody vote for them? Because that's what people are doing. They're voting.
All right. So we got a lot of stuff coming on this because you got the weekend, and over the weekend we're going to see these protests. I think they're going to go across the country. They'll certainly be in LA. And these people are getting really, really, really violent about this. Nolte's got a story of Alexander Vindman, who was famous from the Russian collusion hoax and the impeachment. And he's saying, Kristi Noem, F you fascist, BITCH. I mean, they're just very angry people. And they've really normalized a lot of hateful rhetoric, hateful speech. Just if you're out there in your neighborhood, send me photos of the Mexican flags being flown out there. Remember, it should not be the Mexican flag. It should be the Spanish flag, because the Spanish were here first. So if we're giving land back to prior countries, then we're giving it to Spain. It's not go to Mexico. Sorry, Mexico, you weren't here. So Spain was here, so we're giving it to Spain. So I would much rather be a Spanish citizen than a Mexican citizen at this point in time. And you guys know that I love Mexican food and drink. It's my favorite. So it is my favorite way to unwind is with some Mexican culture. So I will tell you, we are highly anticipating what happens over the weekend at Breitbart News. We'll have a lot of coverage for you, but I'm hoping to see some Spanish flags out there. If any of you want to do that, that would be funny. If any of you want to go out to one of these protests and fly a Spanish flag and get some footage, I would love that. I'd hear it on the show. John Cryer, who's in a bunch of TV, he says Kristi Noem must resign. Like, why do they do this stuff? Like, the guy's a sitcom actor, 2.5 Men, and apparently in Supergirl. I don't know. Does anyone know that there was a show called Supergirl in this audience? But he takes to Blue Sky, the lefty Balkans of Twitter. They're fake lefty bluey. We call it bluey sometimes. Calling it America an authoritarian state because of the Padilla incident. All right. I mean, fine. It's if that's what you think is going to work for you. I got a lot of clips of Newsom yelling at people. I don't think I want to play that. All right. So I thought we had visuals of this. We only got the audio, but I'll still play it. This is Carrie Coon, actress from The White Lotus. She was on The View, and she was explaining what's going on out in LA with immigration. Listen to this.
That the big, beautiful bill that benefits billionaires includes $45 billion to expand detention centers.
Oh my!
And when you're redefining who qualifies as part of an enemy population, like protesters who are not American or animals or insurrectionists, which is how we're being referred to, anybody can end up there. Right. So that's my favorite spending habit of the day.
Yeah. Okay. So she is the big analysis. She really understands Big Beautiful Bill. I get my Big Beautiful Bill commentary from Hollywood actresses and hit shows. That's where I get it. Particularly good looking ones. So it's one of these things. Part of my theory is I think that you got to be very careful to get a lot of good looking women in your life and your family, and people might not tell them they're wrong enough. I'm just saying it. I'm saying it flat out. It's a free speech space here on the Marlow Show. It's I think there's a phenomenon where people don't tell good-looking women they're wrong, but they are. It's I don't like the comment that the Big Beautiful Bill just benefits billionaires. I mean, it codifies tax cuts for the middle class, for lower classes. Trump's tariffs affect the rich more because a lot of the poorer you are, the more you spend money on domestically produced goods. So a lot of Trump's policies are very populist, the no tax on tip stuff. So it's just a smear. But I love the point that the ICE facilities and new detention facilities, a big, beautiful bill. That's good. It's really good. We're going to have more big, beautiful bill discussion into next week, as always. It's still moving. It's a moving target. I feel very positive on this. There is one thing that Amy Klobuchar is a senator from Minnesota, the weird state of Minnesota when it comes to choosing politicians. Seems like a good place for people, but for politicians, you guys pick some real weirdos. And hey, I know I can't talk. I'm in California. I make fun of my state all the time. It's no hard feelings, Minnesota. But she was out there, and I say you got to check this out. She was promoting this video of this woman who's complaining about not her SNAP benefits potentially going away. And I'm going to read you her tweet. She fires the tweet. Today we heard from Felicia, a single mom of 4 who works up to 3 jobs at a time to make ends meet. She counts on SNAP to help put food on the table. And then she says, this is who Republicans in Congress are trying to take food away from. Listen to her story. Those of you who are not going to see the visuals, you're going to miss the punchline here, but I will describe them to you. Let me play the video.
I am a single mom of 4 who are ages 21, 17, 12, and 11.
So Felicia is 1,000 pounds. And I say this not to make fun of Felicia. That's not my intention. But my point is that if you're getting government funded food and you're morbidly obese, which of course drains the system, and morbidly obese people need way more care. And if you want to talk about healthcare cost crisis, a lot of it comes from our obesity epidemic in this country. And Klobuchar, tone deaf, her tweet is literally, this is who Republicans in Congress are trying to take food away from. It would be a service to Felicia if she ate less food. Because believe it or not, the key to losing weight is eating less. I know this shocks people, but that's it. And moving more, that helps out. And there are tricks to do that. I know there's some level of nuance, but in the end, it is taking food away is the right response. So I just couldn't believe the tone deafness of the Klobuchar tweet. But let's hear, recall at the top of the tweet, she says, a single mom of 4 who works at 3 jobs. Okay, let's play the, let's hear from Felicia.
I would like to tell you my story on how SNAP benefit has helped me. Sorry.
She's very upset, and that's
Go ahead. You're
fine.
doing good.
Not making fun of her for that. All the hands flying in to cuddle her.
When I had my oldest daughter 21 years ago, I was working 3 jobs.
Oh, so she was working 3 jobs 21 years ago. So that's what she was doing to make ends meet 21 years ago. But Klobuchar acts like she's working 3 jobs now.
1 job alone, I had to pay childcare. Another one to pay food, which wasn't enough. And one to pay the bills, and I still struggled a lot. Moving forward, I am now working a full-time job as a bus monitor. And so
now she's down to 1 job. And she doesn't want to lose SNAP benefits. And it's the people who really are qualified and deserve it. There has to be some level of government assistance. I'm not saying that there should be 0. But there's way too many people on welfare, and they're on it permanently, and they don't get off. And they're not incentivized to get off of it. And we spend a lot of money on it. And we should not be having government food assistance to morbidly obese people who are capable of working. That's not really it. That's not what this is all about, this country, when we got the debt and deficit that we're running. So it's so unbelievable. So she's not working 3 jobs. She's working 1 job. And I guess, I don't know how long she's been on the SNAP benefits, but it's not even, guys, Miss Dr. Marlow is a doctor. I mean, the first 3 years she was a doctor. The first 6 years she was a doctor. Our childcare expense, first 6 years she's a doctor. Our childcare expenses were more than her paycheck. So I think it didn't cover her job did not cover our childcare, a full job. And that's just the childcare part. So see, a lot of people have problems, and we got to sort it out without having the government pay us to get obese, right? But I play this not to make fun of her. I play it to make fun of Klobuchar. But also the point is that it's this systemic craziness that you're seeing from the left, that they continue to get more and more unhinged. And you're seeing this with these influencers who are spreading coordinated anti-ICE talking points across TikTok, which of course is a China-owned app, which is run by the Communist Party of China. The message is all related to trying to suggest that illegal immigration crimes is the same as, I guess, jaywalking, or it's the same as, getting a parking ticket, which of course is not. We've gone through it on so many shows over the years. We'll do it again with Larry Elder on Monday when he joins me. But just going through all of the ways that illegal immigration causes problems in the healthcare industry, for the school system, crime, fentanyl, not to mention all the violent crime that takes place. And they act as though it's all acceptable because it's the same as jaywalking, and they're all doing it. But we're seeing so many crazy people online that I want to highlight some of the conversation that's taking place.
I would rather have a hot curling iron shoved up my ass and a 500-pound man swan dive and then cannonball on my fucking head than marry a man that voted for Donald Trump. Okay? We get it? I'd rather have a homeless man's nutsack nailed to my fucking forehead for a year than even stand next to a man voting for Donald Trump.
Okay, so that's got to be a troll, right? That's got to be fake, right? That's too funny. She laughs at the end too. Missy thinks she's serious. I don't know. I think she's joking, but that was awesome. Like, homeless man's nutsack on my head. All right, we're gonna have to make sure the Salem News Channel guys know that one came up for the weekend stuff. I'm on Salem News Channel on the weekends, guys. So if you haven't been watching it, my colleagues are there, and they cobble these shows together for the weekend. So that was fun. All right, I got another crazy lib.
There's more than likely a Marine who just finished basic training, waiting for his first deployment, and that deployment isn't going to be to a country outside the United States. It's going to be to California. And the first people he's going to be ordered to fire on are going to be American citizens fighting for their freedom, fighting for the freedom of Latino Americans. If you're one of those...
Yeah, that's good enough. But we get the point. It's just fear-mongering, because they don't have any truth. They can't cite one example, but they think Trump, because he is legitimately trying to use the forces he can to maintain law and order in his country, is the same as firing on American citizens. No, he's trying to deport illegal alien criminals. That's who we're highlighting. That's what this is all about. And that's really all you need to know about this. All right. I think that's most of what I wanted to cover today. I'll be on Maria Bartiromo's show on Sunday. That's a big show, so I always look forward to that. Larry Elder is going to be here on Monday. He's just one of the most important people in my life and in so many others. Let's see, Republican Senator Josh Hawley teaming with Democrats to push a minimum wage hike. I'm a very anti-minimum wage hike, and I love Josh Hawley. I just don't. He's carving out the populist lane, I think, and but minimum wage hike is just very. Look, I lived it out when I was in the restaurant industry in the Bay Area, and whenever the minimum wage would go up, you just cut shifts. It's just people lose work. So it's economically illiterate, but I think I'll have to ask him about it. He'll come back soon. We're supposed to talk to him about some stuff, so I'm sure he'll be back soon. But it's fun to disagree, so I'll have him on. He's doing that. I did want to highlight big Wall Street Journal story. News sites are getting crushed by Google's new AI tools. This is so big for Breitbart. I've talked about this many times over the years, how Google discriminates against Breitbart more than any other tech company. Nothing is even close. Google is by far the worst when it comes to the tech suppression of Breitbart. Facebook is not good. Twitter/X has not been good. Google is the worst by a mile. And Google basically, right for the 2020 election, cut off Breitbart's traffic completely. Some outlets get like 50% of their traffic from Google. At Breitbart, we get about 5%, I think. And it's all when you use the word Breitbart. If you don't put the word Breitbart in, you will not get even exclusive Breitbart stories in your results because they discriminate against us openly. And they've said so. We've caught them on tape saying it. You got to go do a deep dive into our content to get all the detail, but it's in breaking the news in a lot of places. But because of AI, it's going to be Armageddon for online news publishers. And as AI is increasingly replacing Google search, fewer users are clicking on the links, which is going to be devastating to news outlets. Business Insider's already cut their staff by 21% after their traffic has completely deteriorated. The Atlantic is expecting a huge drop in web traffic. We at Breitbart, we're OG. We're organic. We are original gangster and organic. We're both. And we have our traffic. You guys just want to read our stuff. That's how we earn it. So this is a big development in the sense that a lot of our competitors who get their traffic artificially boosted by Google, as people use Google less for news and use these AI for news, that's a potential, an opportunity for folks like us. And just know, so many of these things backfire. So many of the wars on Breitbart backfire. And one such example is, you know how there was that report that Scott Bessent was suggesting that Breitbart's not credible, or he said that, oh, so you believe everything you read in Breitbart, to a reporter, and the Daily Beast was trying to use it to dunk on us. Well, Scott Bessent told us exclusively today that my number one source every morning is Breitbart News. Treasury Secretary says Breitbart News is number one source. He says John Carney is one of the top 3 business reporters. I think number 1, but top 3 is pretty good for John. And we're lining up a big event with the Treasury Secretary. So even when the media tries to dunk on us, it just backfires, guys. That's the message. You guys try to take away our advertisers. You took your own advertisers away. You try to cut back our search. You guys just get falsely dependent on search as a crutch. And you start trying to sow division within Trump's America by implying the Treasury Secretary doesn't like us. He loves us. And that's the truth, because we're doing good stuff. We're doing good stuff at Breitbart. Doing good stuff at Salem as well. Check out Salem News Channel over the weekend and see my stuff. And Marshall Blackburn event, the Breitbart Fight Club, on Monday night. So I'll be hosting that. That's going to be really cool. So if you're not a member, subscribe by then and you can get that event. Thanks to Misty. Thanks to all of you for telling 10,000 friends and family members about the show. And talk to you next week.